Welcome to Faith-Filled Investing, the podcast where faith and real estate intersect. Join host Owen Cooper as he interviews real estate investors who are also strong believers in Jesus. Get inspired by their stories and discover how they live out their faith in the workplace. Learn practical tips and strategies for successful real estate investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor or exploring alternative ways to grow your wealth, this podcast will motivate, educate, and connect you with like-minded Christians in the real estate industry. Tune in to Faith-Filled Investing and join the movement of faith-driven real estate investors.
Welcome to Faith-Filled Investing. I'm your host, Owen Cooper. This week we're going to be hearing from Josh Gierach to learn about his faith journey, his real estate journey, and how those two have intersected. So Josh, so glad you could join us today. It's great. We have had a total of one conversation so far in our lives.
Yes,
so this makes number two.
Yes.
But it was a good one.
It left the shallow end quickly.
Yeah, that's good. And well, I think you kind of do that. That's kind of your specialty. I don't think you like to hang out in the shallow water.
I prefer real conversations. Yes.
Yeah.
Even if that means I scare them away, then it's fine.
Is that real estate conversations or?
Meaning, what do you mean? That go deep? Or that scare people away?
Real estate.
Oh, nice. So you're already starting early. I didn't even catch it. Is that considered a dad joke? I don't even know. But
everything I say is a dad joke. Even before I was a dad. Some people just come by it naturally.
Nice.
Some people call it stupid jokes, but then there's the nice way to say it.
Oh, that's a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah, it is. That's really cool. Okay, so we can just explain to those who maybe are getting to know us how we know each other. How deep our relationship goes back.
It's deep. We sat next to each other at a fundraiser for Zateo, a Christian. Is it a Christian organization? I don't even know.
Yeah, it is.
But it was rescuing people from sex trafficking, basically. And we had a nice meal together. It was super romantic, along with 800 other people. And
I did notice though that you didn't finish your dessert that night.
It's true. I had one bite. One bite is always enough.
Being
fit
very
and healthy is far more important to me than enjoying that moment of the dessert.
Thanks for making me feel bad about that. Now I'm glad I brought that up.
It was your choice to feel bad. I can't make you feel anything.
Oh gosh. Well, tell me. Let's change the subject.
Yeah, there it goes. There it goes already.
Let's talk about something else. Tell me about what your journey with Jesus has looked like. What's that look like in your life?
And I grew up with parents that served Jesus. Grew up in a church. I mean, literally, I feel like I grew up there, and it was great. I had a lot of good friends, a lot of good memories. And then life started happening and people happening, a couple of church splits, lost some of the friends, all sorts of messy small church kind of nonsense. Number of times, twice-ish, I walked away from the Lord, not for very long enough to feel lonely and lost. And he, and then was convicted, I guess, or brought back, maybe not even convicted, drawn back by love.
Wow.
And my feeling of lostness. But that's been the journey. So, in my teenage years, I made it mine. It was just my parents and it became mine. I wanted to go into ministry. Actually at one point I ended up, when you're in the church, you end up getting thrown into volunteer positions left and right. And so anyone willing to volunteer, and all of a sudden you're fresh meat. And so I was, but I also loved junior high and high school kids, and was involved in the youth ministry, and ended up youth director at the same church I grew up in. It was great, loved it, poured into those kids. It was just a volunteer position. Ended up passing it on to a paid person who took it on. Moved on, was a youth director at a different church for a while, again, volunteer. And really was convinced that I wanted to go down that path of ministry. I thought kids, especially high schoolers, were just a blast and a lot of fun until they got old. And but man, it's just fun ages. I still think that.
Yeah.
Then I went to on this bit in Australia. I did some leadership training course at Willow Creek in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. It was 25 hand-picked people. Only 5 were from the U.S. The rest were around the world. And we got 7 weeks together, along with the leaders of Willow, to just do really intensive personal development, leadership development, spiritual growth. And we connected relationally. It was magic. I made a lot of friends around the world, some of those in Australia. I ended up moving there. Had never left the country. And the very first time I leave is for a year. No, the first time was a month to scout out possibilities over there. Then I ended up moving there.
Wow.
And I was a part of the youth ministry there. It was great. I was a boarding master at a high school there too, just to make ends meet. It was dirt poor, just surviving and having a ball. Went on a number of trips from that point as well. Just mission trips, fun trips, whatever. Got addicted to travel, even though I was staying in some nasty, nasty places. I have stories of spiders, cockroaches, and lizards and nastiness. But when you're single and young, you'll do anything to travel.
Yeah.
Then if it's should I keep going or
yeah, no, yeah, like keep going.
Okay.
I'll follow. I'll come back around with questions afterwards. We'll get the overview.
So this is where everything changed, and I didn't realize it changed. So I'll tell you some of these stories, but I didn't realize it until later. I'll tell you that later. But during my time in Australia, what you have to understand is that I never originally I wanted to go into business. I'd started 6 businesses before I graduated high school. I was homeschooled, and I had the time, so I would get all my schoolwork done in the mornings, and then I would do all these different businesses in the afternoons. And I loved it. I loved it. None of them made any money that I couldn't waste in other things, like other businesses or other investments that went bad, or buying new tools. I had a small repair business for a while, of course, lawn mowing and landscaping, and the list of some vending machines, all sorts of things. And that's what I wanted to do. But I feel like God was very clear and said, no, you are not going into business. You go into ministry. You work on my kingdom. And that's what led to the youth ministry stuff and whatever. And originally it was all obedience. And I was growing to enjoy it and really, really appreciating it. Then in Australia, I had this incredible moment where some kids, I don't know if they gave their lives to Jesus or just had a really incredible come to Jesus moment where they got serious. And it was so amazing. And I came back to my apartment and I said, God, thank you so much for not letting me go into business. This is amazing. I'm in. I want to do this the rest of my life. This is it. I'm so glad I didn't get sucked in and caught up in the whole money chasing game. And I heard it so clear, not audible, but it was so clear immediately. I heard God say, great, now go into business. And I said, you're clearly not listening very well. I told you I wanted to go into business. You said I should do this. Now I'm telling you, I don't want to go into business. This isn't what I want. I want to do your stuff. He's like, yeah, take that heart, go into business.
Wow.
And I, to my great grieving, I argued with him, and then I didn't do it. I blew it off. I forgot about it. I forgot about the conversation. And then I came back. I kept trying. I had another ministry event planned, or like I was going to do some internship in Switzerland. because I wanted to merge travel and this, and I felt like that was the original plan that God had for me, was to do that. But the doors didn't open. I didn't have the money. It just didn't happen. And then I was bitter and lost. And I concluded in my heart, God, clearly you're not powerful enough or rich enough to make this happen. So I'm going to go solve the money problem for you, since you couldn't hack it. And
I'm sure God was very appreciative of that.
I'm sure he was. Yeah. Fortunately, he's so patient and gracious, because wouldn't you know, then doors opened. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I met a guy in the apartment business. I ended up going there. And then after a year of meeting him and pestering him to mentor me, he brought me on. I said, I'll work for you for free if you teach me the business. I worked for him. I ended up with him for a decade, learned the business. He paid me $500 a month and an apartment to work 80 hours a week when I first started. Obviously, over 10 years, I ended up making more and running his whole thing, and buying stuff up on the side till I had 84 units on the side. Left him after about a decade, and then grew that 84 to about 800. In the middle of that, though, it's important to note, if you look at the time in Australia, God had redirected, and I didn't catch it. In fact, I was still trying to pursue the ministry stuff then, even though he wanted me in business. I had some blessing in business, and I didn't in ministry. Some, but I entered business in bitterness, not under his grace. I was still bitter. And I was striving and trying to make it happen. And it's fascinating to me that he opened any doors, given my state then. Over the years, I still had a relationship with him. I think he would just let it go for a season, but he couldn't fully bless me, and he didn't. Everything just kept falling apart. I had this great opportunity with this mentor, but I was doing stuff left and right and trying to build these other businesses and whatever on the side to make the real estate go faster. The real estate was going slower. I borrowed a bunch of money from my grandparents. It was taking forever to pay off, and it just wasn't working. And 6 years later, I had very little to show for it. On top of that, I had gone into some stock trading and then lost a bunch of money, which is a whole nother story. But it set me back even more because it was all credit card debt. It was stupid. I was just so trying to go fast. And then I had a really substantial come to Jesus moment where I was like, God, I give up. I can't do it. I don't know. And while we're at it, I'm not going to lie. I know I'm still bitter at you for not providing for me to go to Switzerland. And I don't know what happened. If I missed the boat, if I misheard, if I messed up somehow, I'm going to conclude that you were powerful enough and rich enough to have made it happen if you wanted to. So I don't know what happened. But I'm sorry I've been bitter, and I just let it go. As silly as it sounds, I forgive you, even though I know you don't need it. I just need to let this go. And I did, and I was so liberated. And then I didn't know what was going on. I still hadn't remembered the moment in Australia where he had told me to go into business. I'd completely forgotten it. But from that on, the first 5 years of no progress, the next 2, I had more progress than the first 5. And then from there, it multiplied and multiplied, and all of my progress was condensed in the next 5 years. And so it took me 10 to 12, I argue, to get financially free, but I had very little progress in the first half. So really it took me 5 to 6 years to get right with Jesus. And then the rest was actually to get free. Because then he could actually really bless me.
Wow.
It wasn't until 2 years ago even. So I'm 21 years into this journey of real estate. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I was at a conference and I was telling someone a part of my story. And then I remembered the event in Australia and how I had argued with him and then entered real estate and the business world in bitterness instead of in faith, trusting, okay, this is where I'm going next. God, will you bless this and help me and be with me? No. I didn't go like this. I went like striving, ugh, in my own
Right.
strength, which wasn't enough.
Wow.
So there you go.
Man, there's so much good there. So I often sometimes I think about, my audience and who's listening. So I always think there's a couple, I usually call them nuggets of things. You've already given a few. So the first one I picked up on is, if you want to learn something, offer to work for free, and you can learn anything you want.
Work to
Like,
learn, not to
right?
earn. Work to learn,
Yeah.
not to earn.
Yeah. And you will earn, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, it'll
it
follow if
happened.
you know what you're the learning. Yeah, now my income is so much more substantial, not just because I have a business and I have the leverage of it, but I have a skill set and a knowledge base that is really valuable.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a key thing. The other thing that I think is really important, I think is very much in the theme of this podcast, is, um, there's a desire to really make it in investing, and I'm focused on real estate investing, or just to make it in this venture or in the business world. But actually, the best investment you can give in your business or your investing is in your relationship with the Lord, and that He actually can. If you invest in that, then He will help multiply your other efforts. Otherwise, you're fighting against God, and that just doesn't go very well usually. That's what
Maybe,
Jonah
yeah,
told me.
yep, yep, and not even fighting. I was pretty difficult, but some people I think are just trying to do it on their own.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And if you're gonna, I mean, it's so much harder, so much harder.
Yeah. Don't do it on your own. And that's I usually think of, like, people, human relationships, right? Get a team around you, but actually, like, have God be on your team, because that's gonna make a big difference. Go a long ways.
Yeah, yeah, maybe even better, just be on his team. It's less
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah. So now, I want to unpack just a little bit, because I know this has been a thing that's been, I've heard feedback from people who listen. And by the way, those of you listening, give me feedback, because it's helpful. It helps me know what questions to ask or whatnot. There is this wrestling with, people who love the Lord and love ministry. I mean, I would put myself in that same category. And then there's this thing about, making money, going into business, investing, right? That kind of things. And there feels like there's this tension, like, and you were talking, like, here's God's work over here, doing ministry. And then there's, like, the big bad business world where, people is dog eat dog, and everyone's just trying to make all the money they can at anybody's expense. And you've been in both of those worlds, and I think actually have seen success because of God in both of those worlds. So can you just speak a little bit to that, about that tension, and how you've dealt with that and worked through that?
I First, it's not a tension for God. There's no
Mm,
tension at all.
it's so good.
Zero, zero.
Yes.
If you feel tension, and I think a lot of people do, it's because your thoughts are not aligned with his.
Wow.
So that, I think that really needs to get deep in there. He
Yeah.
has no tension whatsoever.
Yeah. Hmm. So good.
The second, if your focus is truly on his kingdom and his interests, then that will automatically permeate everything you do and the way you do business.
Yes.
So make no mistake, business still works. It's not that it doesn't work. There's like a way, like, you make a ton of, it's all about money, or you lose money. Like, the way business actually is meant to work is you're exchanging value. So one person says these little dollars are valuable. They're just stored value from what they created on the earth, and how they serve somebody. And they say your service here, what you're contributing, is worth however many of these dollars. So if you go into business and people that, with the attitude of serving, I'm going to advance God's kingdom. I'm going to serve these other humans. Yeah. Then there's no incongruency. There's no tension. Just serve. Go serve. And the better you serve, the better you scale your service, as a business person. The better you serve your staff, the better you lead them, the better you do all of these things, the better your compensation is. It's as simple as that. The business world works quite simply, and I think God actually thinks a lot more in line with the way the business community thinks than the way the church community thinks. Simple, reward, invest, work, it's all it's very
just look at
similar.
the parables of Jesus, and you see that.
Yeah, and the way the kingdom works, you know who gets more, gets entrusted with more? Those who are faithful with what they have.
Yeah.
It's simple. This works really well in business. I think a lot of ministry, church stuff, they try to shortcut that, and they miss some of that. But either way, there's no tension. So now I'm fully in the business world, but I bring God's kingdom and His presence in, and I don't just mean just because I say, "Hey, I'm a Christ follower," and I have a fish sticker on my bumper, which I don't, by the way.
Is that so you can flip people off when you're driving, or?
Yeah,
You don't have to answer that. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever flipped somebody off. I do drive fast, though. I don't know if this should be recorded or not, me saying that, but I do drive fast.
I'm not going to edit that out, so just be careful
Yeah,
what you say.
yeah. But now I lost my train of thought.
Well, it was real. I'm going to recap. That was so good. There is no tension with God. That's worth repeating multiple times. That's really cool. Let me dig in. There's a couple other things that I think they're kind of your history and you just do it naturally. But I think people, including me, would be really interested to hear a little bit more about this. The first part was, okay, you're working for this guy and you just kind of picked up 84 units on the side. So that sounds really easy. So just tell a little bit, like, how did that happen? How did you get that?
Yeah. I went to an event maybe 6 years ago, whatever, and I'd already had several units and maybe I already had 800, maybe I only have 500 or something. And they're like, and they never heard of me. They did, a bunch of people that like, man, we've been in this space a long time. You're like an overnight success. I'm like, yeah, who took 15 years in secret just because you weren't paying attention. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, an overnight success that has taken now 21 years. A little bit at a time. The first one was, now I was with, my mentor had multiple multifamily stuff. So the first deal I invested with him, I borrowed, I don't know, 50,000 maybe from my grandparents at 4% interest. And that was going rate at the time. And, and I invested in a, what was it? A 40 unit, I think, with my mentor. And then I took over management as his employee. So it was just across the street from the property I was already managing. My first job with him was managing a 90 unit. And then he bought a 40 unit across the street. So he let me invest with my borrowed money because I had nothing. He was paying me $500 a month. I think it went up to like $1,000 for that one. And then I just paid my grandparents back slowly. Then a year later, he did another deal. He bought a 96 unit in Madison, which I borrowed more money, maybe another 80,000 from my grandparents, and to go and take a piece of that. And then I took over management of that one, and he moved his corporate office over there. And then I was his regional manager, still going all over the state, visiting other properties. But those were the two initial investments. I don't count those in the 84 because because they were with him. So I was just an investor. I was literally in the investment world. I was an LP. I was limited partner. I had nothing. I just had some money in. I was also his employee. So in both cases, I had zero power and zero influence. I just had all the work.
Right.
But I learned how it went, and I learned how it worked from both sides, the investor side and the manager employee side. And he let me into these meetings, and I would shadow him with conversations with banks, with investors, with everything. And I would bring a notepad and I would write down all the words I didn't know what they meant or topics that they were talking about. And he never wanted to be interrupted. He was adamant, don't talk. You just listen. I'll let you be here. And And I would just be quiet. And the other people that we were meeting, they would be friendly. Hey, Josh, good to meet you. Shake my hand. And then we never talked again until saying goodbye. But I would have a list of all the words I didn't know. What is loan to value? What is LTV? Loan to value. What does that mean? How does that play into this thing and the conversation that you were having? And what does DSCR mean? And what is all the acronyms and the words of the industry? And he taught me how to think and what the words meant and the acronyms and everything and how he saw it. And I think that was a real gift. Every now and then his mentor would help me out as well and correct some of my thought process or just offer unsolicited advice, which in that day I was so hungry I'd take anything from these guys. So anyway, I had those with him. I think the next one was just a 4-unit or an 8-unit up the street. Maybe it was a duplex. I don't actually remember. It was just little. I pulled together some money that I had borrowed and then some family, my siblings and parents, and we all just scraped together what we had. We bought an 8-unit. Then I bought a duplex on my own. I was just leveraged up to my eyeballs, borrowing anything and everything I could get my hands on and putting all my money towards paying back what I was borrowing. And so I just kept living dirt poor. So it was 8, a duplex, a 4. Eventually, then there was a 36 unit that they had some family friends that wanted to invest in it and then some family money, and we all pulled it together and I put a little in, and I was managing that through my mentor at the time in his company. And then it was just too much and I couldn't handle all of it. So I parted ways, and then he bought me out of the investments I had with him, and then that got pulled into some other deals. So it's kind of how the path went. It's not the normal path, I don't think, to jump straight into multifamily, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would say start with duplexes, but it was how I ended up.
Yeah, I have a similar story, except for I didn't get in as an investor, but I worked for a guy, and he had bought multifamily apartments, and I managed them for him, and I learned a lot just by being on the job site. And I was doing that before I even owned a home. I mean, I was living like you. I was living in one of those apartments, and that was good. But I never got into like the investment side till later on that. So that was a pretty key relationship in your life. How did you meet this person? How did you know him?
How did I meet him?
Yeah.
A mutual friend, a friend I worked out with at the gym who went to my church. He loaned me Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was 23, and I said, "This is amazing. I'll do in real estate. This is how this guy did it." And then he said, "Well, I know a guy doing it in real estate. You want to meet him?" Yeah, great. So we had coffee or something, and I brought a notepad, brought my brother, and was determined to learn all there was to know about real estate in an hour lunch.
Yeah.
And
Did you?
by the end, I concluded, crap, there's a lot more here. I'm going to need more than a lunch.
Might need a second lunch.
Yeah, a lot of them. So I took a page from Kiyosaki's book and said, I'll work for you for free. I didn't even know how. I had no money. I didn't know how I was going to survive. Fortunately, he gave me an apartment at $500 a month. Turns out you can live on that when you're single,
especially if you have your housing taken care of.
Right. Yeah. Housing, and then I just resolved not to go anywhere. And then he eventually bought me a car because he wanted me to go check on other properties.
Yeah.
Oh no, I still had I had a rust covered piece of crap that literally had holes in the floorboard. I had that for a little bit, but then it died. And then he bought me a car.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've had a few of those cars. That's what they do. They die.
Yeah, but it was great while it lasted. When you close the door, rust falls off. My sister put her foot on the rear bumper at one point, and the bumper fell off. It was shocking.
Oh man, you don't have that car anymore, huh?
No. No, it's long gone.
Oh, okay. Hi, Owen Cooper here with Rock Solid Investments. Sorry to interrupt this amazing conversation that's going on, but I did want to mention that if you are interested in investing with my company, or even just curious about it, please go to my website, rocksolidinvestments.com, ROC solidinvestments.com. You can sign up for newsletters. You can book a time to talk with me, and we can talk more about what that investing journey would look like for you. So glad you're part of this podcast. And now let's get back to the conversation. All right. So now the other thing that you kind of just skimmed over that I'd like to hear. So and I went from 80 to 800. So
yeah, it just happened.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So 84, I gave a part of ways with my mentor. I gave him 6 months notice and he said, nah, just leave now. And I was like, I was not ready financially. I was trying to be gracious. So that was unfortunate. I was his heir apparent and he was really set on me being the one to take over. So I really messed up his plans in that case.
Oh, yes.
And so I don't blame him. And I really, but nonetheless, I'm so grateful. He helped me a lot.
Yeah.
We had 84. It was enough to survive. I was not sole owner of all of those. I only owned a duplex in that mix, 100%. And it was a bunch of other investors. So I was paid a management fee and I had some ownership and it was enough to survive and continue whittling the debt down. But all the extra money went towards debt. By this point, I had gotten married. So my wife was working full with us as well. So the two of us just ran the 84 and we were bored out of our minds because 84 units for two people is super easy and hardly any work. We did a lot of the maintenance ourselves. We eventually ended up with a maintenance guy, but my wife mowed the lawn. She shoveled the snow. She salted all the things she swears never to do again in her life. But she put in her dues and she paid the price just right along with me. Then a deal came along that was it was Orchard Village Apartments. I had all the money that from when my mentor bought me out of the two properties I'd invested with him went into a duplex. So I was cash strong in that duplex. And then with a low amount of debt relative to the value there. And this deal for a 90 unit called Orchard Village came up. It was being promoted. It was in a rough area. It was back in, I don't know, in the last downturn. And it was a great deal. The numbers made sense. The current owners, though, were losing about $50,000 a month on it. They were just losing their shirts on it. And it was all because of mismanagement. They just didn't know what they were doing. Well, I had already turned around properties with my mentor. You know, the first property was literally a 90 unit that we turned around. We cleaned house in, and then the 40 we did the same in, and it's what I did with him. I really grew to like it. The 96 unit in Madison, we did the same. And so this one was the same. I knew how to do it, but it was like just over $6 million that they were asking for. So we had to come in with 1.2 plus the rehab money. And I didn't have an extra 1.5 laying around. That's not how, I was stretching to get into all these deals. I think I put in a couple, I think I had 100,000. I don't remember, something. And then I borrowed even more, whatever. So this first property was a God story though, because I borrowed from all family and friends, and I was still short. I only had roughly 900,000 or so that I had, and I was still short. And I finally went to the broker who had taken a liking to me, and he was trying to help me, and he couldn't sell it to anyone else because nobody wanted it. It was a sketchy neighborhood, like shootings, drug deals. I mean, crazy stuff. And but I was game, and I had to go to him though and say, I don't have the money. I'm sorry. I can't make it. I'm short. I don't know where else to get it. And he said, okay, understood. And then he came back to me a few days later saying, hey, I told the sellers about you. They want to meet. And I was like, okay. They met. They said, hey, tell us what you would do if you took over this place. I'm like, look, already I'm giving you all my trade secrets. Like, I know what I would do. You could do this. But I just was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just tell you. Here. So I laid out the whole list, everything I would do. I said, you're free to go do it. I just gave you everything. Like literally, you could turn around your property, have somebody do this. If you do this, you'll succeed. I know, because I've done it several times. And they said, what? We don't want to do that. We want you to do that. I said, that's great. I want to do it, but I'm short the money. And they said, great. We have plenty of money. We'll make up the difference. So they coughed up the remaining 300 some thousand in the deal and said, we'll, even though we're selling it, we'll join your buyers group as just a limited partner, passive investor, and you manage it and whatever. And I said, whoa, that's incredible. I just met you like 5-10 minutes ago. But I want to make it clear, I don't want backseat drivers. I know what I'm doing, and I don't want to have to confer with you if a fridge needs to be replaced or something else. And they said, what do you, I was like, literally, I don't even want to talk to you again. Like, I just wanted to. And they said, yeah, great. We don't want to talk to you again either. Just take this property off of our hands. So it worked out. And then this. So then I'm thinking, God is amazing. Look what happens. He's lining the whole thing up, and he's giving me favor and opening doors and for all these things. I mean, just so much favor. And then we get into it, and it turns out terrible. Terrible. It costs. We thought we could spread out the pain of cleaning house over 3 years, but there were so many shootings and drug deals and insane criminal activity there that the good people we would move in would leave within a day and say, I'm not doing this. I'm not putting my kids through this. I literally have watched stuff from my balcony that I never want to see again. And it was heart-wrenching and tough. And so we had more vacants than ever. We had no choice then. And these apartments were in terrible condition. So we were having to remodel all of them, which is not cheap. And so we ended up having to just bite off the bullet and said, okay, we're going to make everyone reapply for their own apartment. And if they don't meet our criteria, they have to leave. And we kicked out 72 out of 90 people in 1 year.
Wow.
I made the front page of multiple newspapers. I was all over the local media, video, news, TV reporters. I mean, left and right. They're all coming to interview. The one headline said, landlord walks fine line creating homelessness in Madison. Meanwhile, the articles were fair, just the titles were scandalous. Right. The articles were really balanced because I'm not being quiet about this. There's serious issues, and the good people are thanking me, but the problem ones hate me. In the end, we were a year in. I had borrowed every dime I had. I had spent through our tax escrow money. I had spent through all the money we had saved up to renovate everything. I had 17 out of 90 vacant. I had, and I had a lot of vendors I owed probably another 80,000, and I'd borrowed a few hundred from my family. I mean, everyone was tapped out. I had nothing left. And I thought, I think I'm going to burn out. I think this is it. And I had a lot of stress. I used to have hair. I think I just stressed myself out. That deal was really tough. At the same time, because of all the stress, my wife ended up with severe back pain, which in hindsight now we have associated, it was all connected to that stress. So I'm coming home to a wife crying on the floor in pain, not knowing it's all because of this, and I've got all this falling apart at the same time. And I am praying. I didn't walk away from God. I was still walking with Jesus. I was scared out of my mind, and I don't think He left me at all. It was. I think it was just part of the journey, and I had to toughen up and learn and grow, and learn how to lean on Him and all these things. Nonetheless, I prayed a lot more. We worked really hard. And then it started turning around. And all of a sudden, it was like there was this shift. We made it through February into March and started renting apartments, started making some headway, paying back vendors, paying ourselves back, rebuilding tax escrow, getting it full, good people paying rent, the whole thing. The crime started going down. Neighbors who were good or tenants who lasted and were good. And came by and were thanking us, hugging us. Even the police officers at one point bowed down to me, which I thought was weird. They were like, "Dude, you saved this neighborhood," and it was all glorious. And then we made it. Now that property is the most profitable one we have. And amazingly, all the press that I thought was going to be my end turned into a good thing. The whole thing turned into good because then all the bankers, all I had to say was, "Yeah, I'm the guy who did Orchard Village." And they said, "We want to do business with you." And all the investors, including the sellers of Orchard who joined us in the buying group, then they said, "Whatever deal you're doing in the future, we want in, and we'll bring," and they brought their whole investor group, all their buddies, all their rich buddies, and they were the fuel that fueled the going from, so that was a 90 unit, so 84 to 90, that's 174.
Yeah.
And then we rapidly, over the course of like 3 years, went to 800 because they fueled it with their money and the deals just kept coming. The broker said, "This guy knows how to do it." So I was the lower offer on a number of deals with multiple bigger players. And the sellers would just say, "Yeah, it's something about this guy. We like him. We want to sell to him." And the broker would say, "I can get you more money. You have better offers." They're like, "Nah, I like this guy. Something about him." That happened time and time again with big deals playing in the big boy space where I was in what I would consider the little guy. And these guys backed me on the money. And then the broker backed me. And these sellers just liked me. And that is all favor. And all that negative, what I thought was negative press, turned into good. And that terrible deal, which I thought was going to take me out, turned out to be the gift. That's incredible.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I'm glad I came back around to that one. That is so encouraging. I mean, that's like, obviously God's hand was in that, but also hard work, knowledge, experience. I mean, like all those things came into play. Perseverance, prayer, everything, all in one story.
It was crazy. Now, I never want to do that again. But I'm so grateful. It turned out it was a gift. I didn't recognize it at the time. I just was in the grind, but it was a gift.
Wow. Okay, so that's how you started. And how long ago was that? When did that kind of launch happen for you?
Then Orchard Village, when did we buy that?
Yeah, when Orchard Village, yeah.
I'm 21 years in, and I was 10 years with my mentor, so it's probably 8 years ago-ish.
Okay.
7, 8, something like that.
Yeah, good. So that was really traumatic and dramatic, good and bad. So can you give me a story more recently of how like you've seen God show up in your real estate life?
I can tell you a million stories of how he is moving because it is cool.
So we could just do a whole like series podcast. I could just drop this one and just do the Josh and Owen podcast.
Yeah.
Every day in your
let me just add a little bit of more of the flavor to this, and then I'll tell you some of the stuff current. After we went really rapidly up to 800 units. Deals just kept coming. I was working 60, 70 hours a week, maybe 80. I mean, I was putting in insane hours, but that's probably how I lost the rest of the hair. But I also wasn't home. And I was walking with the Lord, but I was still chasing. My goal was 2,000 units because I knew a guy with 2,000 and he had a private jet and I thought I needed one. So I was sacrificing a lot, including my relationship with my wife. Mm-hmm. Now it's tough to come home when your wife is just crying on the floor. That's not all she did, but it just is. I was getting a lot of accolades and pats on the back in the work environment, and home was not as fun. It was kind of a terrible. We joke that say we've been married now 15 years, that 6 of them were terrible, but it wasn't because we didn't like each other. It just they were terrible. Yeah. And anyway, I didn't really want to be home. I didn't feel like I was doing a very good job as a husband, but I knew how to make money now. I was succeeding in that. That was great. Okay, I figured that out. The husband thing was a little more subjective, a little less finite, and a little harder for me. Nonetheless, I was a part of a business mastermind group that I went to. I had to qualify for with a certain size business, and I was kind of full of myself, and went there, told them all about my business stuff, and expected them to applaud and say, "Good job, congratulations, making it to their little club." And they said, "That's nice." And they looked over at Kayla and said, my wife, and said, "How's your marriage?" And she looks down. She says, "It's okay," as she looks down. They're like, "Really? Tell us what's actually going on." And next thing you know, she's crying, saying, "I'm never home. I'm never there. She just misses me. And I just work all the time. And even if I'm home, I'm working. I'm still in thinking about it." And I would we have stories of me going on a vacation that she wanted. And then I would just stay back in the room and work while she was on the beach. Now, wives don't like that. Probably no one does, wants to just be abandoned like that. But she did not like that. I was so focused, though, so driven, saying it'll be worth it. We just got to get to this place. And anyway, I'm in that group, and they beat the crap out of me. They're like, "Dude, you're going to end up divorced. You're going to get there and then split it all in half. Wake up. You got to enjoy the journey. This is insane. You got a problem." At first, I'm angry. She threw me under the bus. I'm just bitter now. All these people I wanted to impress, now I look like a jerk. And then I started seeing it. So next thing, I'm crying. I'm grieved that I hurt her because I didn't mean to. Just was so focused. So I didn't know what to do. They pinned me. They're like, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I see the problem. My heart is not right. I would prioritize God. I would tell you I'd say God, Kale, and health are top 3, but it's money, business, and the applause of fellow business people. Those are my top 3 in reality." And I just said, "You know what? I don't know, but I'm going to ask God to change my heart." And so I did 2 things. I started praying and asking him to change my heart. And the second was I read a marriage book, which up to that point, I only read business books. And that led to more marriage books because it turned out I had a lot to learn. But that led to us stopping growth. And this is why I tell you this is we stopped growth. Well, we finished whatever deals we had, but then we stopped. We focused on streamlining, whittling down my work hours, delegating more, getting the business running better, spending more time with her, having a life, things like that. And I would say that also was a gift. So that was God as well, saying all the blessings of the properties were him, but then he had to also wake me up and say, hey, there's some pieces here that need to be corrected and adjusted as well. So now my focus is different. I'm not focused spending a large amount of energy trying to grow. It's been, how do I serve my staff more? We have about 50 employees. And how do I invest there? I'm praying for them. I'm praying for our tenants. I go to all the properties when we first buy them and just deal with any demonic that might be there and get rid of that. And then I invite God's presence in to invade and bless these people's lives and make it a place of home and peace and safety and love and his presence. And that is the umbrella and the core of how I'm operating now. A lot of our staff, I'm pouring into them relationally and I mean, recently we had this one, just so the most recent. Oh my gosh, I'm talking so much. We had this maintenance guy that did some really stupid stuff, and I had to fire him. Longest serving maintenance guy I had, and the most skilled. So anyone with a business knows that sucked. And I almost turned a blind eye to it, but it was very egregious. And my team was like, you can't turn a blind eye to this. This is like extreme. I let him go, and I cried when I did, because the guy I love this guy. It was a wake up call though for him. I ended up walking around the property, and he saw me because it was the one he still lived at, and he didn't have a job. And I had challenged him already when I fired him, saying, "Hey, you got some serious heart issues going on that would lead you to all of these things that you just did." And it was over the course of extended period, and there was all sorts of stuff. And he called me. He saw me walking around the property. And said, "Josh, I see you. You're right over there. Do you mind? Can we talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'm literally right here." So we sat. I sat on a salt bucket in the hallway. He sat on the stairs in his pajamas because he didn't have a job anymore. And I was like, "I'm not your boss anymore either, so there's no restraint now." And he just starts telling me all the things falling apart in his life and all the consequences of some of his recent choices. And he's like, "I don't know what to do." I said, "Well, I already told you, you can't fix it. You got a deep root issue and the only way to fix this is God. And you've been really, quite frankly, messing it up without him. So you want to change course? We could just pray right now and ask him for help. Have you asked him for help at all?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, let's go further here. Are you at a point where you're ready to just quit trying yourself and surrender and trust him? Maybe we could just get this all dealt with, and you could just stop trying to run your life yourself, because you're obviously doing terrible at it." And he's like, "I'm so ready. I don't know what to do. How do I do that?" So I said, "Well, let's just pray right now." So that dude gave his life to Jesus right there in the hallway. And I kid you not, he literally stared me in the eyes, and there was a light in him. He's like, it's the first. He's like, "I finally see hope. I see a way out. I can go now. Like there's hope." And he was hopeless before. And we chatted more, because then of course it switches. Now I'm discipling the guy, and got him a Bible, and we've met a number of times. He's been devouring a bunch of sermons I've been sending him. Started going to church, and all these things, and his life is changing, and his real life change. And I'm just it's glorious. And I have other stories too. I mean, of just random some managers even talking to me just out of the blue, saying, "Hey," because they know where I stand, but I'm not necessarily preaching it all the time. I'm just living.
Right.
And they're like, one manager recently, he's like, "Hey, we're having a kid now. I'm just getting married and whatever, and I think we want to figure out this. I want to figure out where I stand with God, and what it looks like. Do you have any thoughts on this? Any books to recommend or anything?" I'm like, how do you get these random, just underhanded pitches, just open doors? You know how? Because God is working.
Yeah.
That's how. He's working. Yeah. I was recently on a 3-month trip, and was not in the office, not seeing these guys for an extended period. And I come back, and then I found out another manager, they went to this Bible study out of the blue. They're like, because they were searching. We didn't even have any conversation. God is working and moving. And if I think the foundation is just start asking him to invite him in. Yeah. You, as a business owner, have been given authority as a family, as a business, as whatever, in whatever your territory is. If you invite him in, he will work, and he will move, and he will fix things, not just so you run a better business and it gets more profitable, so that lives are changed. And inevitably, you end up more profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is so beautiful and inspiring. I love it. This is why I wanted to talk to you more, Josh. And this will not be our last conversation unless you blacklist me. Because I got more to talk about with you. This is amazing. For the purposes of this particular podcast, I feel like we need a second episode at some point. But there's questions I haven't asked you yet, because these stories have been so good, that I really like to ask. And this is a key one. Because there's some people who are just kind of interested in investing, haven't started yet. So for someone who's in that category, they're interested, but they haven't started, what would you say to them?
In what regard? Like how to start
Yeah, what sort of advice would you give them?
start educating yourself.
Hmm.
Uh, if you don't have, if you didn't come from a family with money, or you don't have it yourself, then you probably don't know how to think about it, how to handle it, or what to
Mm-hmm.
do with it. And there's a real skill set that needs to be developed. Most people go through, they start out, and the whole path is learning how to do a career, like how to make money with your active income and with your time, and that's great. But then they don't learn what to do with it, or how to steward it, or multiply it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's a different skill. So
Yeah.
so the easiest is start reading. I would say Robert Kiyosaki has a number of his first three books are great. After that, he starts repeating stuff. But his first three, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. After that, there's plenty of others that are well-worn books in this space to help learn how to think. All the while, there's plenty of books written by Jesus followers that will help align your thought process with how God sees wealth. I think in the church, there's a lot of misconstrued ideas about money and wealth and power, and they're not the way God sees it. And one of the books that helped was Poverty and Riches by Chris Valentin. It really helped me align my thought process with his. Another one was Legacy Journey by Dave Ramsey. And I had a lot of guilt issues. I had a lot of inner turmoil over things, because now all of a sudden I learned what it took to earn money and multiply it. But then I had it, and I was like, wait, I don't feel like I deserve this. And what about all the people suffering and struggling out there, and how to work through that and how to think about it. But if you are really honest, you cannot look at God and say that's a poor person. No. He's so rich he paves his streets of heaven with gold, and he sticks diamonds in the walls. Like he has so much wealth that he just throws it around and has no problem showing it off. So those are two interesting things that I think a lot of people don't know how to handle. But he has no problem with either of those things. So maybe there's a way he thinks about it, and yet he's very generous. So this, and it hasn't corrupted him. He's not chasing it, and he's not about it. And he's very clear. Jesus was very clear not to pursue it, not to make that the main focus or priority, but to trust God to take care of you in those areas. So there's, I would say, start aligning your thinking on that, and then start getting around other people that are successful in that space, in whatever space you're wanting to learn and grow in.
Which is actually part of aligning your thinking too, right? Because you're surrounding yourself with people who are thinking that way as well.
The more you align, correct your thinking. So I see opportunity all over. If you're in a scenario where you like, I see no opportunity here, probably it's not about the scenario. Probably it's about your thinking and the way you see things. So if you'll improve that, you'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. And your problem will become, which opportunity is the right one for me to move towards? And then it's simply an issue of guidance and choices, not I have no choices. There's plenty of opportunity. I have so many business ideas, it's insane. I can't do them all.
I'd love to hear some of those ideas. Again, a future
I'm happy to give them away because I'm staying focused.
Yeah, that's right.
Focus is very important. You focus your time, you focus your energy when you're building, and in life in general. Just focus. But you diversify your money. At first, you focus your money and your time in the first thing. But then you have to say, okay, I got it. I've got enough momentum here. I'm going to keep focusing my energy, but I'm going to diversify my money in case something happens. But you never diversify your energy. You'll just reduce your results and your impact. so dramatically versus focus, and you'll multiply your results.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. Speaking of nuggets, there's another good one. You bring us. Appreciate it. All right, we're gonna land this plane soon, but I always like to just tell me, because especially I know you do a lot of traveling. You just came from a big trip. So what's something that's exciting or interesting from your life recently, non-real estate related?
I just got back for 3 months traveling through Asia, and so we did Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Malta, England. Just literally went around the world. It was one of my dream trips I've been wanting to do for some time. We booked a one-way ticket to Vietnam and worked it out from there. It was
Wow.
great. It was just great. Just a wonderful adventure. Everything from looking at some real estate over there in Cambodia that I'd invested in a year ago, to an orphanage that we were connected with and falling in love with those kids, to playing with elephants in mud puddles and feeding them bananas, and boat tours and seaplane tours and whatever. So that was fun. We have 2 virtual assistants as well that live in the Philippines that we flew out for a week of our trip in Vietnam, and we had just a blast with them. And so, yeah, I'd say that we love travel. There's still a lot of the world to see, but we've been blessed to see a bunch too.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, Josh, thank you for this time. This has been an amazing conversation. I can't wait to. It'll be a little while before I actually get it produced and out there, but I'm already going to be telling people they need to listen to this episode. It's been a great one. So so thank you for the time. This has been amazing, and actually, after I hit stop, just hold on a second, because I want to talk to you a little bit more offline too.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Happy to chat. You let me talk a lot, so everybody likes talking.
Well, hey, that's, they hear from me every episode. So it's you're the star here. I'm just the guy.
Happy to help. A lot of people.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Amen.
Thanks.
Yeah, amen. All right, that's it for this episode. Tune in for the next one. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for joining us with another episode of Faith-Filled Investing.